Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Well, welcome to the program. Today, we're going to continue our ongoing coverage of the war between the United States, Iran, and Israel. Now, there is continuing talk about the deployment of U.S. ground troops to the region. It's been reported over the last 24 to 48 hours that additional U.S. Quote-unquote ground troops will be deployed to the region. Those forces are elements of the 82nd Airborne. Now, that force will come from the 1st Ready Brigade. It will include possibly up to 3 airborne infantry battalions, as many as 3 airborne infantry battalions. Realistically, it could be 1, it could be the entire brigade set. It does sound like right now, it looks like the entire brigade set will be heading to CENTCOM. Additionally, those 3 Marine units that are on the way via the U.S. Boxer, Tripoli, and a host of other amphibious warships are also on the way. So what we know now is there could be, in the next few weeks, up to 5 U.S. battalions operating in CENTCOM. 3 Army Airborne battalions and essentially 2 reinforced Marine battalions. Now, that's what we know. There are the things that we don't know. We, in all likelihood, could be seeing the massive deployment of U.S. Navy SEALs. We can see the movement of other U.S. Marine Corps units, Force Recon, Marine Raiders, those types of operational units as well. And then obviously there are Army units that could also be utilized as well. It wouldn't surprise me if the U.S. Ranger Regiment, the reconnaissance company, that unit could be deployed very, very quickly, as could battalions within the Ranger Regiment as well. We may or may not hear about that movement. And then obviously U.S. Special Operations, Delta, what have you, could also be moved. Again, most likely, this is going to be, if we see ground operations, especially in the Persian Gulf, going after some of these Iranian islands, this is what the SEALs are built for. And in all likelihood, there is probably a significant movement of various SEAL teams, if they are not already there. In all likelihood, they are already there and have already been moved into position and are preparing for possible contingency plans for operations against some of these Iranian islands. Now, again, so you're looking at, in total, within the next few weeks, about 5 battalions of U.S. actual ground fighting light infantry formations, 3 airborne, 2 Marine, 2 of those Marines being probably reinforced, and then again, elements of the U.S. Special Operations Command, be it SEALs, Delta, Rangers, Marine Raiders, Force Recon. It really runs the gambit at this point. Now, I got to tell you, U.S. military commanders love aggressive, bold, innovative operations. It would not surprise me that in the coming days and weeks, if and when the U.S. decides to initiate operations, ground operations in the Persian Gulf or in the Strait of Hormuz, that we could see something surprising, something very surprising take place. Maybe something more than what the uninformed urbanite here in the United States could be expecting. Now, the forces that are being moved in place right now, I would say, exceed the requirement for seizing control of Karg Island, this objective here. I do not believe you would need 5 Marine and U.S. Army battalion sets to seize control of this objective. Again, the doctrine and the tactics of the U.S. military, again, are really designed if and when the U.S. decides to go after Karg Island, again, air heavy, right? The ground troops will be used to seize control of the island and put boots on the ground, but those units that would be used to seize this island would be relying upon very heavy U.S. air power. Lots of air power. Lots of calling in airstrikes on possible Iranian security targets, security formations that are on the island. It is almost impossible right now for the Iranians to reinforce this island. Any Iranian troops, ships, boats, planes, helicopters that were to try to make it to Karg would be shot down and destroyed or blown up en route to this island. Again, the U.S. right now has complete control over the airspace and, in all likelihood, sea space as well around Karg Island. So in all probability, if and when we see this ground operation that were to target Iranian islands in the Persian Gulf and or the Strait of Hormuz, it's possible we'll see multiple targets being taken, multiple islands being taken by U.S. forces. And again, we hear about the deployment of the 82nd Airborne, and we kind of look in that direction in terms of how this buildup will take place. But again, the U.S. Navy SEALs, this is what they are designed to do, and you really have to kind of separate the SEALs. Obviously, you have the teams, and then you have DevGru as well, SEAL Team, quote unquote, SEAL Team 6. But these operations in the Persian Gulf would come under the operational deployment of just the standard SEAL teams that would go after some of these targets in and around the Persian Gulf. And I would not be surprised if we would see raiding type of operations take place on mainland, on Iran proper, along the coastline. What would be the purpose of that? Well, the purpose of a ground operation in terms of what we're seeing right now, Epic Fury, would not necessarily be designed to take territory. The U.S. could move in forces, special operations forces. This operation, and I'm talking about along the coastline, not the actual islands such as Bandar Abbas and other port facility areas along the coast. The U.S. could use special operations forces to land or be inserted, and that would be designed to garner a response from the Iranians, to make the Iranians maneuver, make the Iranians move and deploy forces. Because once that happens, and believe you me, if we are conducting a purpose-driven operation designed to foster Iranian tactical deployments and maneuver formations, we're doing that with the intent of then destroying those forces on the ground through the use of air power. So we could and will, in all likelihood, see that sort of operation. Again, not necessarily designed to seize control of territory, but foster Iranian movement of forces, where the U.S. can then target those forces as they try to maneuver. Because again, right now it does appear, from what we are hearing, that Iran still has command and control, but that command and control has been fragmented, meaning units throughout Iran are essentially at times operating on their own. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly the U.S. Does next. But the capability that we can see and the capability that we can't see, but we know is happening, could be a very aggressive capability that could surprise a lot of folks once and if some of these operations kick off. Again, it could be something far greater than just seizing the Karg Island up here. And again, there are many options for the U.S. to go after that currently exist in the Persian Gulf that are under marginal Iranian control. Some of these islands, the Greater Tomb Island, is it under Iranian control right now? Yes, it is. The Iranians can't really support from the mainland this island, right? So whatever security forces are on the island, whatever units are on the island, whatever stockpiles are on the island, that's it. That's all they have. So again, it would not be difficult for the U.S. to seize control of this island right here. Very little effort. Probably a infantry company and elements of a U.S. Navy SEAL team. Again, utilizing massive air power, could seize control of this island. Not difficult, especially if the Iranians positioned on this island. I'm talking about specifically this island, Greater Tomb. I mean, it sits in the middle of the Persian Gulf, and again, would just be an ideal target to seek immediate capitulation from Iranian forces that are on the island, and that would be it. Now, I know I'm going to get some pushback on that, but it is the way it is. I mean, again, Iranian forces on this island are not going to offer much resistance, especially if the U.S. military really focuses on that island to take it. And again, I'm talking 24-hour air cover, perpetual bombing strikes. Not a good place to be if you are an Iranian service member isolated on that island. And there are a host of islands that could be targeted by the amount of U.S. forces that are being positioned. Now, additionally, we think of ships that could be en route. We could think of U.S. military units that are en route, but there could be more U.S. forces being deployed to the region that we're just not privy to yet. Again, it does not require that the United States pack up some of these heavy brigades on the mainland United States, put them on ships, and then send them on a months-long journey to Saudi Arabia or Kuwait. There is massive amounts of pre-positioned equipment, U.S. heavy equipment that exists right now. Now look, that equipment in all probability will not be used, right? The operations that we'll see take place in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz will not be operations that will require M1, A2, or A1 heavy main battle tanks, right? That is not something that will need to occur in seizing these islands. Now, that capability in terms of having heavy brigades in Kuwait in case the Iranians decide to launch a ground operation into southern Iraq with the focus of trying to move towards Kuwait. I mean, that could be a contingency plan the United States is watching for. But again, in all likelihood, any of those types of operations would be intercepted by U.S. air power and or Kuwaiti air power, limited as it is. But that would really not be an issue. But again, the U.S. does have, again, pre-positioned equipment, approximately 3 heavy brigades worth of equipment spaced out between Kuwait and Qatar. And then the Marine Corps also has equipment. That equipment has been reduced. I believe in 2021, the Marines removed some of its stockpile of forces, especially when the Marines went away from the Abrams main battle tanks, or operating Abrams main battle tanks. There was really no need for the Marine Corps to pre-position those tanks if it was not in the organizational chart, and the Marines were no longer using those systems. But there are thousands of MRAP, mine resistant protected vehicles that are stored in Kuwait, and systems designed to facilitate marine operation with light armor, obviously in Kuwait as well. So lots of equipment there for the U.S. to draw upon if needed. But again, we're not looking at that type of operation if and when the U.S. decides to go after some of these islands or start conducting coastal raids designed to garner a reaction from the Iranians in terms of a maneuver type of reaction. So that does it for today. We're continuing to watch things pretty closely, and we'll continue to watch things as well. As always, thanks for joining us. More to come very, very soon. Good day.